Good morning, traders. This is Very Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, November 12th. So, looking back at yesterday's action, right? Kind of a tight drift down on the futures, right? And then as we look at the bell to bell action, we continue to come down a little bit for more for both of them, a little bit more for the Nasdaq. And if you look at the rest of the trading day, right, the ES ended up going above the overnight high and filling in a high volume node, where the Nasdaq did not, uh, even get up into that last high volume node for the overnight action. It just stayed down. We'll get into that and look at it just a second here. Looking at just the NASDAQ fibs, right, to keep me out of trouble fibs, just up and just consolidating basically from 130 on across into the close. And if we look at, we had a split in the distribution right up here, just under 25,700, and that was the excuse me, that was the lid for the Nasdaq, right? It could not get over into the other auction profile wise. And then as we look at the Qs, right, we talked about if you lose 620, you could get down to 618. That was in the morning trade plan yesterday. Uh, but you needed help from the VIX. Uh, in other words, the VIX needed to be above the high of the day from the previous day to maintain that. And if you look at the action at that point in time, right, it was just kind of, it wasn't, he didn't even make it back to the midpoint of the previous day. So that was your tell that you weren't going in. So we kind of chopped around between 618 and 620 for a while. Then we went up to 622 half. Uh, so I think we beat up yesterday's action. Before we get into some technical analysis, let's just cover any scheduled news items that may be appearing, or what is bigger, whatever. For today, just nothing but talking heads on the mic. There is a 10-year bond auction. The results are scheduled for 1:01 p.m. But other than that, not a lot going on. If you trade crude oil at 4:30, you got API, which is usually an indicator of how uh, the crude oil report, inventories report's going to go the following day. Because of the holiday, right? Crude's going to report at noon on Thursday. It won't be today, and we're going to have a 30-year bond auction tomorrow. Not a lot of other Red Star events. It looks like they have already pulled off, right? CPI was supposed to be reported tomorrow. I guess that's already been pulled off the table. And then, PPI, I guess there's still a hope for Friday, but not yet. Excuse me. Looking at untested points of control, we're currently trading 68.93 quarter, right? So we have untested points of control at 73 quarter and at 82.75. Those are your bogeys, right? To see if there's any participation below those levels, or if we just stay, maybe take out the top one and then stay above. But the next untested point of control above is at 69.39. I don't know if there's a catalyst to get us up there today, but these two untested points of control are really what you want to see. Uh, that's your bogey line profile wise. Uh, let's get into the action. Overnight action, right? We creeping up towards that expected high move of the day for, as Toss calculates it, 25,838 overnight. High was just under it at 25,830. And you can see that we spent, after getting stuck under this 25,700, let's call it, in the overnight action, once we pierced above it, right? Remember, these are different auctions. There's an auction below that level and there's an auction above it. We just kind of filled in above it so far in the overnight action. So uh, there is potential for a pop and flop. Remember, we just traded this value yesterday. Value area low goes all the way down to 25,550. So that would be, 230 NQ handles from here. And you got some poor structure on the ES, right? So potentially you could trade down towards uh, 68, 57, but you probably can't get any fills really below 68.50. If you start getting fills below there, you're heading towards yesterday's low of the day or the expected uh, low move of the day for toss. So looking at the title of my video, can bulls keep it above the call walls? We'll get into we'll look at, there's not a lot of positioning. I did mark on the positioning, right? Someone, I don't know if they fat fingered or if they did this on purpose or what the structure is, but they definitely have a structure on between 69.20 to 69.25 and 7,020 to 7,025, and that is for today's expiration. And we closed yesterday at 68.40, right? So we closed down here. Futures are up 20, so we're about 68.60. I mean, I don't even know if we can get up to the low side of this structure that they've got on today, but if you get some really bullish action, that's probably your magnet on an extreme scenario. And again, that's above the expected high move of the day. There's a lot going on, so uh, potentially not even going to sniff that. So let's see what we would have to pass up first to get on there, right? The call wall for the week is still 680 on the SPY, but you can see there's a lot of activity between 680 all the way up to 690, and then it's just bulls only from 690 to 697 with 700 still, having a large gamma. So we're currently trading on the SPYs, we're currently trading 685 basically. So we're right in the middle of this, and we're right at the top end of what I say the agreement is, right? So you've got still some put positions on the slower side here, but nothing, just basically very thin on the puts above 685, right? So all those puts would be worthless that expire today and this week at this point in time, and then the calls will be starting to get into the money. So fair value or two-sided trading should take place basically between 680 and 683, maybe even get a test of 678. And you can see 677 is, for the week, there's a lot there. So 677 to 683, kind of fair value. From 685 up to 690, you need help from the VIX probably, but that is still wide open for today. So looking at the Qs, which is a little bit easier structure for today to read, to be honest with you, uh, we're currently trading at 625 exactly right now. And you can see that is the call wall for the day and the week at this point in time. There's a lot of structure. If you go down to the bottom of these sheets that I post, you can see the sum of, everything that's on here. We're currently trading 625. You can see there's a lot of action up to 630. It's even more action than 625. Not a lot, but a little bit. And then you could get up to 650. And your floor, no matter what, should be 600. That would be 1,000 NQ handles down from where we currently are. So I don't think we have to worry about that today or probably this week, maybe next week, but not this week. And then as we get into it, there are several different factors. So watch, you can see from below, it's the $5 strikes that are significant. But for today, 622 to 625 is kind of where there's a lot of call gamma. Below 622, you're going to start needing help from the VIX. You could slide down to 618 without a lot of help from the VIX, but you can't really get too much. Remember, all these calls become worthless below 622 for today, and the puts start getting a little bit more juice, but there's not a lot of puts here. So really what I want to watch is if we can get above the 625 and start heading up, or if we just get that two-sided trading, right? This would be remember, each one of these is about 41 and a half points on the NQ. So you got, 622 to 625. Again, we're at 625 right now. So we're at the high side of this action. So going above it is really going to be where you could get a little bit of a squeeze, at least in the morning session, into the euro close, and going below it, you're going to have a hard time, crossing back over it. I would think that would be a secure high if we trade under 622, that you shouldn't really trade significantly above 625 after that. I hope this helps. We'll see what Jack's looking at next, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.